Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Namaskar, and I hope that all of you are doing well by the grace of Krishna. Today we will talk something about how we can manage our mind. Many times all of us feel that our mind is not in our control and we struggle to try and control it. But if we think of it as something which has to be controlled, it can be quite difficult. Instead, if we learn how our mind works and we learn some techniques to manage our mind, it will become our friend. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th verse, Lord Krishna says, Bandhuratmat manastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. For one who has conquered the mind, it is the best of friends. For one who has failed to do so, it will be his greatest enemy. So, this question of managing our mind, of learning to keep our mind under our control, is a definitely this is a skill that we have to learn. Now, just like we pick up any other skill by trying to learn it and by regular practice, this also is a skill that will come only with regular practice. All of you must have heard of that story of Arjuna in the Mahabharata. So all the disciples of Dronacharya, they were very irritated because they thought that Dronacharya is very partial to Arjuna. So in order to show them why Arjuna is the best disciple, Dronacharya arranged a test. So he took them all out into the forest, and there on one tree, on the branch of a tree, there was a wooden bird that was hanging. So now Dronacharya called each of his students one by one, and he said, okay, I want everybody to shoot at that bird. Tell me what you can see there. So the first student came, he said that I'm able to see the sky, I can see all the trees, and there is one tree on which there are many branches, and on one branch one bird is hanging. Dronacharya told him, you step aside, you wait. He called the next student. Next student said, I'm able to see the tree and there are many branches, and on one branch one bird is hanging. He was also asked to wait. Then the third student came and he said, I can see a tree, and on the branch of the tree there is this bird which is hanging. It is red in color. You wait, he said. So finally he called Arjuna and he asked Arjuna, what are you able to see? Arjuna said, I can see the eye of the bird that I am supposed to hit. What can we learn from this story? What does it teach us? That all of them may have been good students, but what was that which made Arjuna different from all of them? His ability to completely focus on what was the most important part of the task. Similarly, for all of us, if we want to learn how to get our jobs done with focus, with concentration, with a single pointed mind, then we must learn to look at only that which is the most important and not get carried away by all the other distractions which are possible. Now, there is another story which is told of Arjuna. One day he was sitting and having his dinner, and suddenly there was a strong breeze, and because of that, the lamp was put out, it got extinguished. So he was not able to see anything. But he continued to eat, and without fail, every single time, whatever food his hand picked up, it went directly to his mouth. There was no confusion because he could not see. So it made him think that if I'm able to eat like this in the dark, just because I have been doing it all my life, then that means that even my archery, even my skill of hitting the target, I can practice that in such a way that I will be able to hit something in the dark. So with this in mind, he kept practicing and he became so good an archer. Now we know another occasion when Arjuna showed his archery skills at the time of the Draupadi Swayamvar. So there the job was even more difficult. There was one wheel. On that wheel there was a bird that was tied. This was raised on top of a pole, and that wheel kept on rotating. Now the task was that below that pole there was a pot of water. The reflection of that rotating wheel was in the water. So you had to look at the reflection, aim at the fish which was on the wheel on top and hit it. Now we know very well that Arjuna unfailingly, without even any small mistake, he managed to hit that. Why was he able to do it? Because all his life he had practiced archery. So, this same Arjuna we see later when the Kurukshetra war is going on. At that time, very confidently, he tells Krishna, take me to the middle of the armies where everybody is there. I want to see how my enemies are and I want to know what we should fight against. When Krishna takes him there, looking at all those people, suddenly he loses his confidence. His arms, his body starts trembling, he starts sweating, and he puts down his Gandiva bow and he says, I can't fight. What happened to this Arjuna? This mind of his, which was so stable, so calm, and he was fully in control of all his senses at all times. What happened to him now? It was his emotions that came into the picture. Looking at all the people assembled there, he said, they are my relatives, they are my grandfathers, they are my fathers-in-law, they are my uncles, they are my relatives. How can I fight against them? So what we can learn from this, that how much ever we may have practiced to control our mind, there is one factor that can always throw us off the track, and that is the emotions that we feel. So whenever we look at things around us, we notice that if there is something which has caused us to have a very strong emotion, whether it is anger or irritation or sadness, then at that time, that is the time when we feel that we are not able to control our mind. So if everything is going smooth, we find our mind is along with us. But at times when we feel angry with something, when we get irritated over something, when we are jealous of somebody, or when we have some bad thing happens to us which makes us feel sad, then in all these situations, these are the times when our mind refuses to come along with us. So if we want to learn to manage our mind, in effect, we have to learn to manage the emotion which is upsetting our mind or which is disturbing our mind. So to be able to manage that emotion, there are many different things that we can do. But one of the most important and simple ways is to focus our attention on our breathing. So the first thing we can do for emotion control and for mind control is to practice deep breathing. Whenever you feel any emotion growing strong within you, become aware of it and immediately decide that now you are going to not give in to that emotion, but you will start concentrating on how your breathing is happening. Generally, whenever we get upset, our breathing becomes very shallow. So we will be breathing very superficially and very fast. So what we have to do is, we have to slow down our breathing and we have to make it deep breathing. So expand your stomach, expand your chest and take a deep breath in. Inhale. Hold the breath for a little while. Then allow your chest and abdomen to collapse and exhale. Breathe out. When you do this repeatedly, even if you do it for 10 times, you will immediately notice a significant change in your emotion. You will find that you are not as disturbed as you were before you did the deep breathing. So this is one thing that we can do. The second thing that we can do is to reduce our physical activity. Have you noticed that when we get very agitated, when we are restless, our movements are very fast, right? We do a lot of things. We may bang things down. We may shut the door with a loud sound. We may walk very fast. So all these things, they contribute also to your restlessness of the mind. So if you consciously slow down your physical movements, that also will help to slow down your mind. And one of the ways of doing that is to practice the habit of sitting in one place for about 5-10 minutes every day and just try to focus your attention at the center of your eyebrows, some kind of a meditation, or just sit quietly, close your eyes and observe in your mind what is happening. So this kind of practice will help us to still our mind by making our body still. So this is one thing we can do. The third thing we can do is we must try and replace, substitute the negative thoughts which are there in our mind with positive thoughts. It is very easy for our mind to get carried away into negative thinking. There are so many things that we do without realizing we are almost always having negative thoughts in our mind. So we must realize what are these negative thoughts that I am having. Let us check our own mind and note down every single event that makes me have negative thoughts. What are the type of negative thoughts that I am having? And whenever I have a negative thought, I should consciously try and replace it with a positive thought. Now, all this, it is possible for us to do and to learn to manage our mind. But one of the easiest ways by which we can achieve this is to develop the habit of chanting the name of God. So what will happen is that when you have a habit of chanting God's name, then at that time, what is happening is you are focusing your attention on the name of God which you are chanting. You can chant any mantra, any japa that you want. When you are doing this chanting, you will find that it is allowing your mind to focus. Now, the power of God's name is very strong. So, when you make a habit to chant every day regularly, slowly, because of the energy in God's name, you will find that all the other negative thoughts in your mind are reducing. Another thing is that always, whatever we give more attention to, that is what will grow in our mind. Another thing that will happen when you keep chanting regularly is that slowly your mind will start focusing on God. And because God is the repository of all positive qualities, then your positivity will start increasing. Now, many times we feel that I have done one prayer once, that's okay, that's enough. Now, don't we eat 3 times a day? Don't we sleep for so many hours? Why don't we say, I have already eaten yesterday, I am not going to eat today? We don't do that, right? Because it is something just like eating, sleeping has to be done every day. So also, please make it a practice that every day for at least 15 minutes, I will find the time to focus my mind and do some form of japa. Now you can do different types of chanting. If you have some Ishta Devata, you can chant the mantra of that deity. If there is some mantra which you have received from a guru, you can chant that mantra. If you don't know what to chant, you can chant the name of your family deity. Like for example, if your family deity is Manjunatha, then you chant Shri Manjunathaya Namaha. If your family deity is a goddess, let us say Bhagavati Devi, Shri Bhagavati Matayai Namaha. So in this manner, when you keep focusing your attention on the chanting, gradually you will find that all the other activities in your day when you are doing, along with those activities, your mind will start keeping attention on the chanting which is happening inside. First, you will start by sitting in one place and doing for 15 minutes. But as you do that, you can make it a practice over time to keep saying that mantra, keep doing the chanting throughout all your other activities whenever it is possible. And you will find that as you do this more and more, it becomes very easy to manage your mind. Because now it is not you who are struggling to manage the mind. The name of God that you have taught your mind, that will manage your mind. So these are some of the things that we can adopt. They are very simple methods that we can use to be able to manage our mind in a better way. So I hope and pray that Lord Narayana will bless us and guide us to be able to follow all these things in the proper manner. Namaskar.